Okay, so as I was saying, we want to be careful when we're using
45 minutes.
ChatGPT so that we make sure that we're getting good information and that the information that we get out of ChatGPT or other AIs, let me find where I'm going to share my screen here, from other AI that we're going to actually trust but verify, because you never know exactly what you're going to get. So for example, I can say, let's see, write a bio for Michelle. I can type, I really can. My hands are cold from WordPress. If you're all gonna yell at me if I don't capitalize things, right? So I do this and I write, write a bio for me. And today they don't know anything about me. But the last time I did a check, they did. So let's see, write a bio for, let me just see if I save my name. Very interesting, because the other day it gave me this. And I said, write a bio for Michelle Frechette of WordPress instead of from WordPress. Maybe that's the difference. So, but it gave all this incredible information about me, some of which is not true. In the past, it's said that I worked at companies I never worked for. I mean, it did call me inspiring. So Joseph, I'm going to give you that one. But, but it's interesting. It's like, what did it say? Her passion for democratizing the web and fostering, it's like that language. I mean, it sounds like a really good obituary, if I'm being honest. And I don't necessarily want to write something about me that sounds like an obituary. But what's somebody give me a prompt that we can use and then take a look at it and see how accurate it is. Does anybody have a prompt? You have to tell me, because I can't see the chat when I'm sharing my screen. Anybody?
Michelle, I just used it to create a code snippet the other day, so that if one user in particular logs into the website, users that they create, I gave them permission to create users, will be the user's role will be automatically set to something in particular.
Okay.
I don't know if that gets you what you want, but
no, I really want to. I want to look. I want to be able to look at like asking it to write a paragraph about something, and then look at the see how it's written, and kind of pick it apart that way.
Sure.
Code would be a little bit harder to do right now, but let's say right.
Hi, Michelle.
Yeah.
Good way to do this is pick a topic.
Yep.
Or better yet, take a headline or a page title.
Okay.
Any old page title, and then say, please act as an SEO expert with 10 years of experience and rewrite this page title for more interaction.
Of your own blog, or you're actually pilfering somebody else's?
Pick anything. Yeah. Yeah, you can pick any of them. Put in a title and then.
Okay. But not an actual. So
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, you can pick an actual one. I'll go find one on the web.
Let's see. I'm gonna pull up to see if I can. Oh, I can get the chat. Okay.
Screen, not mine.
Can you put something in the chat that I can put in here then?
Yeah, sure. Let me just Google something. Let's talk about I don't know, using AI for WordPress. Using WordPress. Oops. There we go.
That sounds like a great title right there. Using AI with WordPress, and then have AI give us a better title.
That's fine. You can start off with that.
So what am I saying? How do you want me to say it?
Well, one of the best practices is give your AI a role.
Mm-hmm.
So tell it to act as an SEO expert.
Mm-hmm.
And give me 3 titles for using AI with WordPress.
Okay, here we go. Revolutionize your WordPress SEO with AI, a comprehensive guide. Unleashing the power of artificial intelligence in WordPress SEO strategies. An AI-driven success. Elevate your WordPress website's ranking with smart SEO techniques.
There you go.
So let's pick this one and say, write 350, because we know we need that many, right?
So what I generally do there is ask it to write an outline.
Okay.
If you just have it write stuff, yeah, write an outline, yeah, for about 350 words. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's big because that's a big comprehensive guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 350 words probably wouldn't get you a comprehensive guide. But now if you go into one of those
Mm-hmm.
and ask it to write 350 words for that, tell it to write 350 words for section. There you go. Like that section. There you go. Or you could also refer to that section.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There you go. So now what I would do with this is copy it and then put some of it into my own words and give it a voice that sounded like me. Otherwise, it's just usually pretty dry stuff.
Well, you could try to ask it to impersonate you.
Is it going to know who I am, though?
I don't know. Do it as Michelle Frechette.
It's going to be like, as of January 27th, I don't know her.
You can give it.
You can just say now, write it
examples.
as me, Michelle Frechette. It knows what, you don't have to repeat everything.
True.
There you go.
You can also give it samples of your
Uh-oh.
writing and teach it to write like you as well.
Yeah, is this the paid for version?
It is.
So you can give it samples of your writing to
Right.
learn.
I'm not going to do that right now, though. Because then I'm going to have to go find my writing to do that. So anyway, it gives you an idea there for sure, right? I think what's interesting is so many people just do, write 350 words about such and such, and then they pick that up and they plunk it right into their website, which is not the way you want to use ChatGPT and AI.
Yeah, we see those in the Google News feed all the time.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. What was
So,
that?
so I had a student, this is Trevor. So I had a student who very obviously said, write a lab report about studying permeability, which is a magnetic property. And so it wrote a very nice discussion. It was very flowery. It was very sciencey. And it was definitely not the experiment that we were doing. It was a nice experiment, but it had nothing to do with what we did.
Now, so tell it to go rewrite this as a 10th grade student.
Yeah, I wish they had, put some other prompt in and write me a lab report on permeability.
Use the word stuff in the first sentence.
Yeah.
In the world of websites and SEO stuff.
There you go.
So AI is like a superhero for looking at tons of data really fast. I mean, it's actually, it's not far off, right? We didn't say AP students, so. But wait, there's more.
Yep.
I love that. I will tell you, if you are looking for a job, using AI to write your cover letter is not necessarily a good idea because we pick them out super fast. You can tell a lot, and people have just relied on AI for writing certain types of things. So you need to be careful of that. Let's see, what else? I will sometimes ask it for, give me 10 ideas for writing an article on SEO. Simple, plain and simple. And it's going to give you 10 ideas where you can start. Like, what are some things that you can look at and think about writing an article about? So common SEO mistakes, link building in 2024. You see all the different ideas that you could say, oh, okay, I could do something with that.
Yeah, so I used this one time to, a friend of mine had parents helping parents, and they had a Facebook group. And of course, their problem was every time they posted stuff on there on the Facebook group, it would scroll down and people would lose track of it. And she's like, I need a website. And I'm like, well, let's here, build a website. Let's put in what your group is about, where it's from, have it write a title for the page, have it write an outline for the sections on the site that it should have, and then drill down into those pieces. And it did very well. It understood the topic and kind of the idea, and it wrote like an about section and such. Of course, it had to be tweaked, but it just takes time to write things. You know, even simple things, it takes time to write. It's much easier to edit than it is to create stuff.
That is very true. If, however, you are being paid as a writer, it would still behoove you to actually write.
Yes. But it may behoove you also to use AI then as an editor.
Sure.
So take one of your blog posts and say, okay, now act as an editor. Okay, with 10 years of experience in whatever field or whatever you're looking at. So one of the keys here is if you just kind of give it a general thing, give me ideas for this, okay. But if you give it a role to play, it will work much better. It will give you a much better voice. It'll have a much better kind of base to start with.
And you can actually ask it to write in the style of actually known people. So you could say, I want it to be in the style of Brene Brown, for example, and you're going to get a very different feel than if you said the style of a politician, for example, or something like that. So a lot of that is going to show up differently that way.
Yeah. So I've studied this a little bit. I'm over on that traffic think tank, and they've done a few things on AI, and just definitely giving it some sort of personality or somewhere to start, giving it some sort of context about the job role it's supposed to play. They usually go through and have where they were producing stuff at mass quantities of content. But they were very careful because of all these issues. So they would initially go out, find related type of content, feed it in, ask it to analyze it for the keywords, the most popular keywords. That's a great one to do. It's like, rewrite this with these keywords in mind, right? The things that you're really interested in, and it will subtly go through and change things there.
I haven't done this yet myself, but I have people who have fed it the entire transcript from a podcast and asked for a summary.
Yes.
Yeah, that too.
Very good at summarizing.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to share their screen? Do you want to walk us through one of those, Lee? Show us some of the stuff you were talking about.
Unfortunately, I'm on my work computer and it won't let me. They have strict limitations at work and won't let me connect to ChatGPT.
No problem. Who else? Joseph, you said you've used it. Do you want to?
I can jump in a bit.
Sure.
And show you something that you can run locally called GPT for all. I'll see if I can share my screen.
You should be able to.
Here we go. And I can. Which screen? I'll share the big screen.
There you go.
All right. I'm actually looking at you, but I'm going through the other side. I'm just sharing my other screen.
Okay.
So there's something called GPT for all. And GPT for all is a you can run it locally. I'm just starting it up. Let's see where it went. Here we go. It runs locally on your computer. I have to update. I haven't used it for a while, so hopefully it won't take too long. Okay. I haven't used it because I don't use it much, but this is basically, it will take a while. So I'll just talk about it for now until it updates because it will
Sure.
take a while. So I'll come back to the screen while it updates. So what happens is you can run it locally, and there's a data set called Microsoft Wizard. It's a Wizard data set that's created by Microsoft and Berkeley University, and that is very comprehensive. It's only 6 gig, and it gives you really good answers in a lot of topics. And as Lee was saying, when you form the prompt, and I learned doing the prompts from talking to Google Home, they keep updating it, and it doesn't give me the right answers all the time. So if you formulate your prompt based on a personality, then actually give it information. So my friend wrote a cover letter. I took her cover letter and I said, impersonate a recruitment agent and write a cover letter with the elements that they look for, but it was based all on her cover letter. So everything in there was actually true, because what happens with AI is it has hallucinations, and these hallucinations cause it to make up stuff. And this happened, a lot of people in the medical field actually ended up asking about a specific ailments, and it detected them really well. But one of the things that it said, how did you detect this? It said, well, I went to the British Journal of Medicine and I found these researchers and I found these books and these people were working on it. The people were true, the researchers weren't true, and the books weren't true, but it was trying to prove its point, and it will find any evidence to prove its point. And they don't know why this happens. And also, I've experienced that a lot of people were scared of AI because it was a lack of understanding. Like they go, oh, it's going to take over. It's going to do that. Yes, it's going to take over, but you've got to realize that it's not like Terminator. This is human thinking. It's actually going to come and do this and do that. It's actually not going to do that, because all it is, you put in a prompt. So you ask a question, it goes through an algorithm that decides what the best way to handle this. Then it goes to a data set, which is basically like a database, to give that information, and it predicts what the best thing after that is going to be. So it's still thinking like a machine, and it's not going to take over the world.
For sure.
I'm just going to see, this is still not
Oh,
updating,
darn,
but I'll go ahead.
oh, darn it, I said, we'll have to keep paying our own taxes then?
I guess so.
That's it. Well, Elon Musk wants to let robots pay tax because they do work.
They don't get paid.
So yeah, I can't update my my GPT for all. I'll try and do it again. It's called GPT for all. It's free. You can download it for Windows or Mac, and then you choose a data set, and the data set is called, the best one is Wizard. It's compact, and it gives you good results as ChatGPT, and it's not shared with the world. It's not shared with OpenAI. It's your personal kind of AI running on your own system. And the best thing about it is it gives really accurate answers and as good as ChatGPT. And the only downside is it might take longer because the processing happens on your own computer. So if you write something and you want a big answer, you might go and get a cup of coffee and come back, and it updates regularly. You can't use it commercially, so you can't put it on a web server and let people prompt it. However, you can use it in your material if you want to write something. And remember, it would be good to study the prompt, because the prompt will give you amazing things. Like you put the right prompt in there, like Lee was demonstrating, it was basically for SEO. It analyzes and it gets the stuff. The prompt will give you the answers, and it can give you amazing stuff. And you can run it in other material that will detect if it's AI and write it in a different way. One was called Qubit, I think. I can't remember the name. I've got to check that. The other thing that you can do, you can also say write in a human form and not in an AI form, so it's not detectable. And then you practice doing it. And the good thing is you can also edit your prompt and refine it. So if it gave you something that's kind of 95%, you can edit the prompt and then let it do it again instead of saying add to it, and it will write it in a different way. I personally like the local one, but I don't use it as much these days. But it's really beneficial, especially for marketing, because it can hit the key points. It can do market studies for you, and you can take the keywords that you get from your customers, put them in there, and it will write it in their own language. And when people read stuff in their own language, it's like magic. It's like that person understands you. And you can even try it for yourself. If you talk with somebody and use the same words that they use, they'll go, oh, wow, you totally understand what I'm talking about. But it's actually you just used the words that they use, which have meaning to them, because most words that we use actually mean different things. Like I've been doing an experiment asking people, what does power mean? And each person gave me a different definition for power. Some people said it's me, for personally, I think it's strength. Other people said it's the power as in electricity. Other people said it's politics, like a politician. So everybody gave me a different meaning, whereas the meaning of the word power is the ability to take action or the ability to act. So each person has a meaning for the word, and when you use the same words that they use, it has a different impact on them because they go, wow, you so understand me. And it's very important to use those right words when you do your marketing, because that will get the people, or when you're doing influencing people, of course, it has to be like authentic and good for them. You don't just influence people if it's not good for them. And you use those words that will interact and engage with you in a great way.
That's really cool, actually. I'm curious for the teachers in the room. So I know specifically Robin and Trevor, what do you do to make sure that your students aren't using ChatGPT to write the things that you've asked them to write? How do you detect it if you have suspicions?
Michelle, actually, before I answer that question, I just want to get a comment in about what Joseph was just saying, using a person's words to explain back to them.
Yeah.
That kind of has element to when we were talking a minute or so ago about writing the cover letter. The girl was able to successfully get the job. And in a way, if you use the job description to be part of the material that the cover letter is writing, you're pulling the words that the person who wrote the job is looking for. And so there's just that little bit of a tie in there. So being able to use something like the GPT for All tool, where you're able to prompt it with, here's my resume, here's my background, here's, the job description. And now, take all this stuff into account and make me a cover letter. It's much more possible that it's a successful cover letter. And as far as, I guess, the question about how do you determine if a student has used artificial intelligence in their solution, I would rather have faculty think, how can I creatively use artificial intelligence within my assignments to have students use the tools, use them effectively like they would use them when they are in the real world, and kind of prompt them to learn how to, use it most effectively, using some of the tips that we've been talking about here.
Oh, very cool.
There's a few detection tools, but none of them are perfect. And I would rather go in the opposite direction.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with that. The detection tools are very poor. You're probably more likely to read it and suspect that it's AI rather than running it through a checker. There was a professor several months ago that suspected a bunch of his students were doing it, put it through ChatGPT and said, did you write this? And it said no. And he said, are you sure? I said, well, on a second, and ChatGPT replied back, well, actually on a second look, because it's, it's a bit of a people pleaser. You keep asking it for what you want. It's designed to give you what you want. And so basically it told it, that, yeah, of course I wrote it, it's obviously AI. So students started, or, other people started to put in his email that he had sent out to the students and said, was this email generated by AI? And it said, yes. And then they put his papers from, the mid 90s, early 2000s, and said, was this written by AI? And it said, yes, this is very much written by AI. So, trying to detect it that way is next to impossible, but you can usually tell from reading that there's a problem with it. The other thing that we try to do, and I'm on a FACT2 committee, which there's an acronym that it always escapes me, but on a committee on AI, and we're trying to help professors realize that, like Robin said, make things that, make assignments that you can't just say, write something about this. Get students to do revisions, get students to talk more about how they learned to do something rather than what they learned to do. And then you start to get out, or, rather than the material, say, how did you learn this material? What strikes you from this material? Now, that doesn't mean you're never going to get ChatGPT responses or whatever AI tool you want to use. But yeah, it's tricky.
I can imagine. And then I think, like, when people are, hiring for different roles. So we have content creators at Stellar WP who are writing for all of our various blogs. And, they were hired before AI was really became a thing. But you sometimes wonder now, is when you're hiring somebody, are you hiring somebody who's written their own things, or are they relying on ChatGPT? And I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter if what they're producing is good. And if it's not, then there's cause for them to either correct it or leave. But it is interesting. And it's kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, hurdle or food for thought anyway, I guess is a good way to say it.
Yes.
Do you think, I'm asking the whole room here now, do you think that there's a benefit to using ChatGPT or AI for pages versus posts? Do you think there's a difference in how we would use that for a page, which is really going to be something more static, right? Or as opposed to a post, whether it's blog or otherwise?
I personally would use it for both, but I give it the information that it needs to give me something, and I have to review it to make sure it's meaningful. I've also, a lot of the time, asked it to design an SEO-friendly website, but I gave it all the stuff. I said, I want a homepage, I want an about page, I want a sales page, and I want a contact page, and formulate it. And the prompt was really huge. Like, you would be surprised, the prompt was actually big, and then it refines it. So the more information you give it, it's got more data points to touch on, more the answer will come with detail. And you can also say, this is a blog post, as opposed to this is a page, and you'll get a different answer for both.
I think that's important, and say, hey, this is a blog post and I'd like to maximize this for interaction and feedback, right? So it'll put then kind of prompts in there to get people to respond. So I think it's the more context you can give, like you said, though, we'll try to please you. So be careful. I had a situation like that myself. I was like showing my mom, I'm like, hey, this AI is great. It should be wonderful for research. And she's into women's rights and everything. And I'm like, what would you like to? And she's like, oh, well, it's never really been clear if there were any women of color at this particular women's rights convention. So I asked it about that and said, were there any women of color at this women's rights convention? And it, after a little bit of prompting, it made up somebody. And I asked it for references, and it made up posts, and it made up URLs for those. So we're still not, it doesn't mean there wasn't necessarily, but it made up somebody that sounded really good and made a bio for them and everything. So out of whole cloth, made up a fictional character in history. But yeah, there's some tricks for that as far as, again, giving it a persona and a context of some type too. If you just kind of ask it for general things, it's just going to give you the crap that we see out on the web, which is already affecting search results and everything now. So many people just kind of write generic GPT stuff.
and
So,
it's not considered spam anymore. Google at the beginning considered it spam. Now it's
yeah.
not spam. But if you put in it crap, you'll get crap. If you put in it good stuff, you'll get good stuff. So same rules applies. Content is king.
Mhm.
Yep. But I think that's a good, I mean, the difference between the two, I think I would specify that, and
Yeah,
also what it is that you're looking for that post.
Mhm.
Are you trying to be informative? Are you trying to get people to take action? Again, difference between like a landing page and a post also, right?
Mhm.
So a landing page is going to be written, for a campaign or something, is going to be written differently.
Right.
Um, and it's very good at that. And you can tell it, I don't know, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10, you're a crazy maniac, and 1, you don't know anything, maybe give it a 5. I haven't tried that, but
Would be
and
interesting.
that might be worth trying.
yeah, and also give it an outcome that you want. If you want a specific outcome, so say act as a SEO expert with 10 years experience, write
Right.
this article for engagement, or write this article as a sales letter, or whatever it is. And here's the
Right.
keywords that I want to get, because I talk to my customers, and the keywords with that. And then that's what presses their buttons. Like if you use a word like fish, it won't have a big thing. But if you use a word like shark, or if you use
Right.
like attorney or lawyer, so that selection of words will have a different impact as well.
Yeah. Another thing I've done is you can kind of flip the script on it and say, okay, you're an AI, you're my SEO consultant. I want to write a blog post about this general thing. Now ask me questions that I should answer in order for you to make an intelligent article. Okay, something like that. And it will go through, and so you can basically give it a framework and have it quiz you instead of having to try to come up with it. You can have it quiz and say, what are the things I should be considering? Ask me the questions, and it will ask you like, oh, really? Well, where are you located? What country? And is your audience local or is it national? Stuff like that. And it will do a really good job of that. And then you can say, okay, now given my answers, now create a framework for an article or something like that.
Mhm.
So there's some of these kind of meta queries that you can ask to basically have it ask you for the information. It's like, oh, now, and I've also asked it, okay, now what did I miss in this? What important points did I miss that might be, that I didn't think of? And it will come up with points. So that might be a good way to get started and say, hey, look at this text. Give me 2 important points I might have missed that would be of interest to my users. And say, oh, you're maybe a beginning WordPress user, or you're a beginning whatever. What are some points that would have interested you that you would have liked to have seen in this post? I think that's a pretty safe place to start if you already have some content.
Mhm.
One of the kind of cool things I saw over on Traffic Think Tank was checking page titles at scale. So they basically looked at Search Console and they said, okay, they took the thing and they actually fed all their data into GPT. So they had a more advanced version where you could feed the file and said, okay, take a look at this Search Console file. They spit out all their pages and all their stats and said, find the pages that are not performing as well as they should. So usually that's pages that get lots of views, but not lots of click-throughs for whatever reason. So your page shows up in the results, but people aren't clicking on it. So they should be clicking on it, and it will come up with a formula for that and do all these weights and find the ones that are really good. So it's really good at that. And then you can say, okay, now combine this with so it doesn't give you the titles though in Search Console. And you can say, okay, I'm going to export all my titles out of Google Analytics or whatever. Now give me a new spreadsheet with the titles and the page URL links. and these, and then you can say, okay, now rewrite these titles as an SEO for better engagement. And you can put in like 100 and it'll just rewrite them all. And it does a really nice job of that. That's a very data-driven kind of way to do things at scale. If you've got a lot of pages for a particular site, that would be a really interesting. And then they asked and they said, okay, given all this, what should be the uplift? What will be the uplift if I change these titles? And it's like, you should get 700 more hits a month. And those are pretty, because if you can, increase your click-through rate or something, it's a pretty straightforward mathematical type of thing, and you can be pretty confident in it. So there are some ways you can do some of this stuff kind of at scale. And the other, if you're using a more advanced version, you can give it files and say, okay, now put these two files together, right? Hey, here's my analytics stuff and here's my Search Console stuff. Put these two together in a single spreadsheet for me. Oh, and draw a graph. And it'll draw a graph for you. So yeah, I don't know if anybody here who's been using it would start from scratch anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, you would start from scratch, Mary?
Yeah, that is true. I really like the process of writing and what I learn as I go through it. So, but I think that's the type of writing I do. I think
Sure.
in some ways you're talking about different type of writing. So I think it depends on the purpose.
I tend to write opinion pieces, and so it's important that I'm giving my opinion when I write an opinion piece. So I tend to write from scratch, regardless of the fact that I might feed my article in there and ask for a good title, but most of what
I think those are really good points, and that is that in the future, like if anybody can generate an AI thing, what's going to separate you from other people?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be your personality and your authority.
Absolutely.
And your voice and your quirkiness. And
I
your
own
authenticity.
I own my quirkiness.
Yeah, you can use it for ideas as well, to
Yeah.
generate ideas when you're writing it, and it will give you points that you might have missed. There's also something called Playground. Playground is part of OpenAI as well. I put the link in the chat. And that one you can set it's kind of like, if you think of ChatGPT as a model that has preset parameters, and it gives you answers based on a preset general parameters. In Playground, you can set those parameters. You can make the heat really high. You can make it really intense in the way it does things, and you can get different results for it. And that's where you can put it and say, well, add more onto that, or subtract a bit more of that. How would it sound if it was a 10-year-old writing it? But you can set actually how the parameters work. It's a bit more in depth. And it's still free, like you can use it for free as well.
So actually kind of related to that free idea, just one thing that everyone should be aware of is, and this is not a, don't use AI type of a thing, but everything that you put in by the terms and conditions of ChatGPT in particular, and this is true across all of them, everything you put in, it is using to train the overall algorithm. So when you put your stuff in, you are training it so that when somebody else asks a question, that it's going to be drawing from your information. So you should be.
Here's another question too, because yeah, it can certainly take that, and we've seen some issues where companies put in their data and other people were able to get it out,
Right.
And they got fired because they let company information out. So that's very important. I have a fear, this is my fear, and one of the reasons I don't use it maybe as much as I could, is that, okay, I put a bunch of queries in, and then somebody takes all my queries and makes a profile on me and says, okay, now ChatGPT, write us a profile for Lee. He's put in all these queries. Tell us all about him. Where does he live and what should we sell him today?
Right.
because I think what you asked says a lot about you or your situation. So, and as far as I know, that's fair game data that you're putting in there.
Yep. And it is, and that's why you have to be careful with all that stuff. And again, not that I wouldn't use it. Some of the best YouTube's descriptions I've ever gotten have been where I put my transcript in and said, write a description for this. And it's catching things like somebody mentioned before about things that I didn't think of. It's putting those in the description, which makes it more likely that people will find my material on YouTube. But I wouldn't have thought to do it. You know, my descriptions before ChatGPT were, you know, this is a video about how to do a physics problem.
Right.
And I might put a couple of hashtags or things like that, but that was it. And, you know, I said, write a 250 word that would make people want to watch this video. And it was wonderful. I wanted to watch the video. And I had just made it.
That's another good place to start. Probably is also meta description tags for your pages, something like that. You know, feed in your content and say, write a meta description for this page, because a lot of people don't take the time to do that, and it makes a big difference in your search results when people are searching. There's the title, and then there's the description under it, and the description under it is, yeah. So you may have a wonderful thing, but if your meta description isn't good, people aren't clicking through to it. So, and that's a pretty safe area, I would think, to start with. Something that you can change on your page that doesn't even show on your page necessarily, but it does show up in search results.
Speaking about the privacy as well, Google already does that. Sometimes you might be talking about something and you'll find the ads already coming out at you because it detects, and that's what personalized ads is. If you have, there's an option in Apple and Google that is personalized ads. It will pick whatever you put in there. I was talking about hypnosis. I never not Googled, not nothing. And suddenly on Facebook and everywhere I go, hypnosis. And I never typed anything about it. It was just only, I talked about it. So I think that's already happening.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to do a very interesting experiment, sign up for a YouTube channel and just start, pick any topic that you want. And their AI, you know, it's not exactly the same type of stuff, but they will start to show you, and suddenly everything will be, you know, clips from Back to the Future. And everything will be tangentially related to that. It's only after you start to watch a lot of things that you'll start to get other things coming out. But it's kind of scary as to what, you know, how quickly it will feed you what it thinks you want. And then it's a self, you know, oh, I like this video, and you can go down a rabbit hole really quick. More so than you might have thought. You know, if you do have a YouTube account that you've been watching for years, yeah, you'll see the general trends, but you've hopefully put in enough different things that'll have an idea. But yeah, Lee, I'm sure they could write a very interesting profile for anyone.
For your queries.
For my queries, yes. Yeah.
I do
it's
want
scary. Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to bring up too that there are WordPress products that are now building AI into them. So Bertha AI was one of the first ones to have a plugin specifically to generate AI right through your WordPress website. But WS Form, now you can tell it what kinds of things you're looking for in your form, and it'll generate a form based on that, including questions you didn't think to ask. And you can, of course, edit that, but it'll generate something for you to start with. Cadence theme now has AI built into it, so you can generate content right from your WordPress website as well. And Yoast now has Yoast AI as well, so you can generate things based on SEO that you're looking to use right out of the Yoast plugin as well. And I'm sure there's others I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but LearnDash is going to have AI built in very soon too, so you can use it for content generation for your courses. And I think you're going to see it kind of across the board, kind of creep more and more into different WordPress plugins. Am I missing any plugins that anybody's thought of that you want to bring up too? That are
Divi's got it as well. Divi's putting AI for image generation and text generation as well.
Yep, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, there's a lot of it happening for sure. Other questions,
so
conversation. Go ahead, Trevor.
So this is still kind of tangentially related to putting information in. So while, you know, as educators, a lot of us are trying to figure out ways to teach students how to use this, because if we don't teach them how, then, you know, they'll learn something somehow, somewhere. But some professors were saying, well, why don't you take the class notes and put those in and then quiz yourself? But, you know, when they do that, they're putting my stuff in and training it going forward. So there's that. That's a wonderful use of it, but is that fair to me as a professor that they're using my stuff that way? Because it's not them using
Well,
it,
that's a
it's
good question, because they're
them
feeding
putting it out
your
for
content.
everybody.
Right.
Also, what you put in Google trains Google as well. Like, you know, the pictures, when it comes up with Google and you choose the picture to get through, that's training image detection for Google. So really anything that you input, you're training. And what people don't realize is right now we are the product, because attention and your time is the most valuable thing you got, even more valuable than money. The more they get you stuck in, the more they can advertise to you, which benefits the marketers. So we are the product, and we've got to be aware of that bit. Like, how much am I spending? What information am I putting in? And am I happy for that to go in there? So it comes back to, at the end, us.
Yeah,
There's a
I'd like
book-
to kind of go on this same thread. So the University of Buffalo recently made Microsoft Copilot available enterprise-wide, kind of rolling it out, interesting, for faculty and staff first, and then students later on. And I figured out today, and I'm not 100% sure that I'm right. I could be hallucinating. But the idea is that it says protected when I log in through my UB email. And I was not able to figure out how to upload a document. I wanted to give it some context. So I was trying to upload the content, and it would not allow me to do that. I'm kind of came up with the assumption that it seems like because UB has an enterprise version of it, they're not allowing people to upload content to it. But it's all in its really early stages, so it's hard to say if that's really the case of how it's going to be. But they're going to allow students to use it, you know, I think maybe at the end of this semester. It's interesting.
It would be how they deployed it. So when they deploy anything in a university or anywhere, they put specific rules, and it's locked down until they allow you more permissions. Same as your Windows workstation.
Is anybody doing A/B testing with anything that they're generating from ChatGPT or other AI? Be interesting to do an experiment where you write without AI and then you generate with AI and do some testing and see what performs better. That'd be really cool.
I did a little joke site. Well, it's not a joke. It's a pine cones, because I live here in Australia and we've got a lot of pine cones in the garden. So I did a website written by ChatGPT about pine cones, to sell pine cones. And actually somebody bought some pine cones. I did it like as a joke, but only in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's actually, surprisingly enough, it gets 4,500 clicks a week.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's only like one page.
And did you have to go box up pine cones and send them out?
Oh, I did, yeah, but I only got one sale. I can show you as well if you like to see it. And I've also got the GPT for all working as well, if you're interested in having a
Oh
look
yeah,
at it.
go ahead and show us that. Yeah.
Get my screen again. So I'll just bring up the website. So here we go. Let's share the screen. Okay, this is the Pinecone shop. I think you can see my screen now.
Yep.
So this is the Pinecone shop. Basically one-page website. Loading it again. And it's only one page. That's all it is. This is written by AI, but not like with thought, not just letting it write for me. And I also asked it about what images I should use. The images are not AI. They're just sorry,
Sourced.
let me do it. Looks better. Yeah, I'll just exit full screen. They're just stock images, and some are images from my garden. Like that stuff was from my garden. Just taking pictures of it. That's from my garden. The rest, this stuff is like stock images. And that generates like 4,500 a week.
It's
in
really
traffic.
funny that your hero image and your logo don't have pine cones in them at all.
Yeah, no, it's
Can you
got
ship
the
to the
it's got,
US?
no, I don't. It's not for the US, but the pine cones are actually from the US because these trees were from California. When my grandma got the property, the California cypress pines. Yeah, so it's interesting, but yeah, that's doing really well. Not in sales, but it was done as a joke anyway.
Yeah.
And this is like I was saying, GPT for all. You can download it for free. You just need about 16 gig of RAM, and it runs. The best model is the Wizard 1.2 model. You can choose whichever models you want, but I chose Wizard. And now they added a new thing where you can download any other model that you want. And it's exactly the same as Chat GPT. You can say like write about the most famous men at the moment, or whatever you want. And you can say act, and it just takes a little bit longer to generate it, but what it generates is really cool. You just might need to go and get a coffee and come back. And also here, you can choose not to opt in. So you can say, I don't want to opt in with data. I don't want to send any data, and everything stays private on your computer. So it solves the privacy issue if you want to analyze your data and you don't want it to go anywhere. But it's a little bit slow. Like you can see, it just takes its time. So you might want to go for a walk and come back. But the details that come from it are really good. Like the information that comes from it is good. I don't use it much. I found it as good as ChatGPT, and it runs locally. So it's a good thing to do. And it will write blog articles, it will write whatever. I even got it to give me a coaching session. I said, act as a coach and give me a coaching session. And it actually gave me a coaching session. It said, what do you want to thinking with? And it helps you brainstorm. You can just get your thoughts right. And it will also, you still have to check the information to make sure it's factual and it's not making stuff up. I haven't had it make stuff up, but also what I'm giving it was very specific to get information. This is kind of like a general prompt this time, but in general, I give it specific details, and I might even write the article and feed it in it and get it to write it in a more SEO friendly or a better style. The other thing that you can do as well in general, you can also write your article and say, what would Steve Jobs think of this article if he read it? What would Dan Kennedy think of it in a marketing perspective? Or what feedback would he give me? And it will also give you that. But that's in ChatGPT. I haven't tried those on this one because the data set for this is only 6 gig, but it does pretty good though for the limited capability that it has.
Joseph, you've mentioned the Wizard model a number of times. I'm looking for it and I can't find it listed.
You have to download. So have you downloaded GPT for all?
Yes, I have.
It should be on the top. It says the best model. When you go into select the models, you'll find the best Wizard 1.2.
Oh, it's listing it as the best as Mistral Open Orca. No.
All right, so I changed it again.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't see Wizard anywhere,
Let
even
me
in
have
the
a
show more
look.
model. Yeah, that's all right. Oh, there it is. Okay, I see
Found
it
it?
now. I'll get that. Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. would be in settings, but I found the wizard one is compact and also it gives really good answers and it's
Great.
private, but you have to make sure you choose like don't share my information. There's 2 prompts that come up. Choose not
Correct.
to share that information or it will stay private.
Right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So as you can see, it just takes a bit of time, but it gives you good information.
Oh, yeah.
It's telling us about Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. Just a little bit slow.
Those dopers, you mean?
So-
One other little area that some people may have played with, I had one of our affiliates that put a chat GPT chat on their WordPress page. And I immediately convinced them not to do that after I asked it to write a funny poem about hamsters and industrial gaskets, which it promptly spat out a lovely poem about how hamsters were testing industrial gaskets on running wheels and such. So there were just no guardrails at all on it. So if you're thinking about, oh, it'd be cool, hey, ChatGPT, let's put it on my website. That's another use case you may want to think twice about.
That's where Playground comes in, because you could specify the data set and it will restrict the answers to beneficial stuff, not just general. So say if you've got an aromatherapy website, you can say this is the data set that you use and you're only answering questions about aromatherapy. But that's funny though.
It was a good poem.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is an author and has a blogger. She's using Genie AI to help her with her content, I believe. It's a plugin. It's a plugin.
So that's another area too that well, of course it's somewhat questionable these days also, but and that is like generating thumbnails for your content or icons or hey, just give me a cool background picture for this and describe the content and get an image out, an original image, hopefully. But then give it a style of a particular artist, or say do it in watercolors. I did some for my Tai Chi meetup. I'm like, show a bunch of people doing Tai Chi, older people, mixed races, do it as a watercolor, and bloop, you know, it spat one out. And that saved, I didn't need, you know, unique artwork, but I wanted something that got the image across for my meetup. So I was able to do that. And then I was like, oh, I have 5 animal forms. Show me a diagram in sort of a Chinese style with the 5 animal Qigong forms. And it knew kind of what I was talking about. It did a good enough job. It was a little wacky. It threw an extra lion bear in there. I don't know what that was, but it made up like an animal that I've never seen before. But it was still cool. It was just fine for that sort of work, which I could have spent, you know, I could have spent an hour trying to work on this image in one of the image tools and making sure, you know, or searching around for a public usage type of image that would have been hard to find. So I found it really useful for that. Maybe not, you know, again, maybe not professional level. And there's, you know, getting to be more question about art styles because they fed in so many people's images and art and things like that. But I think if you do it like a classic painting and say like Van Gogh, something like that, you're pretty safe. Van Gogh's probably not going to sue you.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. The copyright is questionable. In the US, it's a little bit better. Here in Australia, you're doing it at your own risk.
Well, I suppose you could get like Steamboat Mickey type stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
thanks
some
for
of that
the
stuff
public
now.
domain.
Oh Lord. Anyhow, but I did find it really useful for that, for banners or something like that. That doesn't have to be, even, you know, I'm not the greatest artist. I just hate spending time on that, or I'll spend too much time on something like that. And, you know, give me, you know, here's the thing, give me an image this size for this article. And I think that might be worthwhile for a lot of people. Again, there's kind of like the ultimate, you know, versions of this, and then there's like the, hey, I need something that's good enough,
Yeah, quick and dirty.
and that my professor won't get on me for. So
Or my
in those,
boss.
yeah, I found it really, really handy for stuff like that.
It's also good for generating domain names and business ideas. I had a client, he wanted to incorporate property and restaurants and hotels in one, and we used it and we kept prompting it and we got something really good that had the whole three, and it wasn't a really big domain. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was an abbreviated thing, but it had a nice ring to it.
Yeah, I used that for the parents helping parents in Rochester thing. I'm like, give me some domain names for this because that's just way too long. So it came out with, you know, reasonably short, and now make it shorter. And the nice thing about like Chat GPT and some of these other ones are they are interactive. So you can say, okay, now make it shorter, now make it longer, pretend you're a 10th grader, uh, pretend your audience is another, obviously a good one. Pretend you're, I don't know, a 62-year-old martial arts guy who hurt his knees and wants to do Tai Chi, you know, rewrite this from his perspective or something, you know, to interest that person. So could
Yeah,
be
I
could be
believe
useful.
I believe the most important thing is working on your prompts. And I saw a guy that does that. He's an SEO guy, like full on, and his prompts were Word documents about,
Yeah.
it was 60 or 70 pages. And when he puts a prompt in, the prompt is like 5 pages long, but he gets the result really, like really amazing stuff that comes out of it. So the most important thing is to work on how you prompt it and practice with that until you get really what you want out of it.
Absolutely. Other questions?
So
I know there's some people who haven't asked questions or given opinions yet. I want to make sure that if you do have questions or want to share something, that we listen to everybody too. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking, which is also good. But I want to make sure we're not missing anybody else.
One thing I discovered recently is like the one of the one of the things that can be really helpful with like prompts like ChatGPT is asking it for what information it needs to do the task that you've asked it. So like, you know, say, write me a WordCamp talk script on, you know, democratizing publishing with WordPress for my WordCamp Asia thing, and you know it'll give you something generic. And so instead of, you know, just giving it a prompt like that, you can say like, what information do you need to be able to write this as best you can, like and then it'll come back to you like, well, how long is your time slot, what sort of audience do you have, and that sort of thing. So like, you know, you don't yeah, if you don't think of it as like entirely like one-on-one transactional, like you ask a question and it answers sort of thing, like it's an ongoing conversation that, you know, you can build up this sort of authority with ChatGPT, how it understands you and you understand it, sort of thing.
That's actually really good advice. I like that.
Yeah, that's one of the pitfalls I did find with the conversational thing is you'll go down a rabbit hole and it looks back at the things you've just written, and you get down the rabbit hole and you can't get back up. So you have to stop and start over again because it's got all this context that it's looking at. So if you go down to a very detailed area and you ask it to act a certain way and you're like, oh, no, now do this. It's got this other previous crap that you've kind of explored with it, and it's using that as context. So sometimes you just have to start over again, start fresh. Imagine you're talking to a new person this time, and try again from a different tack. But that's the asking questions thing is great. Again, like it's like, hey, I've got a WordPress presentation to give. Pretend you're a presentation expert. Ask me 10 questions, and then based on the result of those questions, write an outline. Again, more context, more type of stuff for that, and it will ask you. It'll be very good at that. Asking you the questions, and those are the things like, oh gee, I wish I had thought of that to feed it in the first place. So you can kind of be meta about it, back up a level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the things is treating it like an expert, but you have to tell it to be an expert.
Yeah.
You have to tell it what it's like a genie, but you have to tell it what type of genie it is.
I had a professor once that said, ask questions, get answers, ask better questions, get better answers, ask even better questions, so that you train yourself on how to ask questions to get what you want. But you start somewhere, and then with the answers you get from that, you can ask deeper questions. And so you can keep iterating that way, because it can train you as much as you're training it.
Yeah, that's something that Troy Dean would say a lot, go wide, go deep, just like keep asking why.
Yep, exactly.
That's another good tip too, is if you get something weird, ask it why. Why did you put this in there? And different systems are better at explaining those things, but that can be good. And say, hey, why did you put outline point 3B in here? And it'll be like, oh, because blah, blah, blah. And it may come up with some BS, but it can be pretty instructive to do that in a lot of cases. And you can have it say, and you can also say, explain your reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And it will at least try to come up with reasons for the stuff that it does.
Yeah, I've been started to learn to use the AI to help me build my prompts. Can I share a screen?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I store everything that I do in a table so I can come back and look at it. Like this is the prompt I give it, create 25 AI prompts to use to extract genealogical information from newspaper articles and obituaries. So it came up with these 25 for me. And then I gave it some bad directions, but I did combine these into 5 prompts, and it came up with these 5. And now here's a single prompt that will do all of that for me. So I can polish the results I want from the AI as I'm trying to gather information. I've got hundreds of obituaries that I have clippings of. So that's one of the things I want to do, is pull additional information that may not be in my family tree.
That's great. If I were doing that type of stuff, I would probably pull it into a database.
It will be, that's part of the
put it in the columns
I'm
now.
building.
Yeah.
Now there's genealogical software, which is still a database that I use, and you can use online databases if you want to, like Ancestry. One of the genealogical sites just came up with recently, and it's MyHeritage is the name of the site. And what they're doing is their AI will take one of your relatives that you've assigned to, and it will go out and write a biography for them. And it goes out and it sends prompts to Chat GTP or GPT, and it actually will put historical data in the biography, like what may have been happening with the Industrial Revolution or whatever from it. And you can tell it not to include that stuff if you want to, but they're doing their own in-house for their data and then going out to OpenAI's technology and getting additional information to combine it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was just saying, I like this stuff and say, okay, now do this and create a CSV in CSV format or something like that that I can just cut and paste into a spreadsheet.
Another technique that I've used AI for in relation to genealogy work, well, actually not, I was playing. I wasn't really doing the genealogy stuff, but I was taking black and white photos of family and converting them to color. And I was in some of those photos and it's like, wow, that's amazing. I've also been able to animate myself as a high school student. And, so that just that's great, but yet at the same time, it's scary because as easily as I was able to animate my face from a still image, somebody can animate Michelle's face to say something that she didn't say. So it's wonderful and scary at the same time, but I'm excited about it.
Well, wasn't there a new law proposed this week because of somebody creating lewd material based on Taylor Swift? I was trying to say that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so you definitely want to be careful.
There is also stuff coming up to counteract that, like how we've got viruses and we've got a virus scanner. There's going to be scams and there's a scam scanner that will detect the patterns. There'll be a deep fake video and there'll be something be able to tell you if it's real or not. So that is also growing at the same time, which will help mitigate that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is a good thing.
And the US upcoming elections will test this theory to its fullest, I'm sure.
I have no doubt that you're right about that.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Well, we know everything that politicians say is hallucinations, so what's the difference?
No more. I heard it on the internet, so it must be true.
Yeah.
I
But
generated it on the internet, so it must be true.
I like your comment though, Michelle, about asking the questions, because you ask good questions to yourself, you get good answers. And also we need to question the validity of the stuff on the internet because it's not always true. Like there's a lot of like, you can make money in so easily. Let me show you. Let's get that. And then
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
have $10 million in 1 month and all that kind of stuff. It's not all true. So
No.
we've got to ask ourselves the right questions and know if it is or not.
If the people who were generating $10 million a month were really generating $10 million a month, they wouldn't be hustling so hard to sell you their course on how to raise $10 million a month.
Exactly. Exactly.
I firmly believe that.
I do as well.
Just like those SEO spam emails you get. It's like, your site's not being found. It's like, how else did you get my email?
Yeah. And yet you found it. That's right.
Yeah, but the funny thing is if you go and check them, their sites don't have any traffic and have nothing on them at all. Because
my
one of my
favorite-
clients, he gets them and he places them and there's nothing. Yeah, they can't do good for themselves.
My favorite is that they always are emailing from a Gmail address. So they clearly have no idea best case best use cases either. So
Yeah.
for sure.
So it's kind of funny. So not everything on the internet is true. We have to ask the right questions, like he was saying, and the better the questions, the better the answers will come out.
That's right. Absolutely. Anything else? It doesn't have to be AI related either. If there are other questions people have, issues they want to help solving, we've got a little bit of time left tonight before I finally collapse and decide I need to have dinner. Or lunch for you Aussies.
I just want to say, like, it's great being here every month, and thank you, Michelle, for creating this nice community. It's always fun to come here and listen to different speakers, talk with everybody, and it's really, really nice community.
Thank you. It's always nice when we see you pop up in the meeting as well. And as a matter of fact, we had one person join our Facebook group, and the first thing they said was, how come, we should start meeting in person. And I thought, who are you? Like, I've never heard of you before. You've never joined a conversation. And we have people from all over the world that join our meetups. And if we just went back to in person, we would miss out on a lot of people that we have grown to think of as our community as well. So I'm glad that you're here.
Michelle, I just noticed in the toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom window, maybe you talked about this before I joined. I joined late, I'm sorry. There's a button for AI companion.
Yeah, I haven't played with that at all yet. I have somebody clicked to allow it.
I turned it on a little while ago and forgot about it.
Has it done anything for you at all, Trevor? I'm not sure how to make it work.
So if you click on that tab at the bottom, it will replace the chat, or on that sidebar, it'll replace it, and you can ask it to do things. So I just clicked catch me up, and it's thinking.
Now we all clicked it, so it's going to think even harder.
Right.
Oh, but it's naming people by name. I love that. Oh, scary. Joseph, you came up a couple of times.
Oh yeah, there's Lee.
What? Sorry?
It mentioned you right off. Joseph Haas mentioned that Playground allows users to customize parameters to get different results. Michelle Frechette mentioned the potential risks of deepfake technology. And I never used the words deepfake technology, so that's pretty smart, actually.
Yeah. So we use WebEx, and to record our classes if we want to. And it has that type of a tool that students can, when they go to the video, they can type in, give me a summary of what happened today. Now, of course, that's my content that's, used somehow by WebEx. But it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. I guess if you put it on the web in any way, shape, or form, you have to have some level of expectation that it could be or will be used by others in some way, shape, or form.
Very true.
There are, I work at Post Status as my second job, and on occasion, somebody will send me one of my own articles on a different website. And there are websites that are just absolutely spoofing our entire website and pulling out all of our posts and posting them with my name and whoever the writer's name, but as if it were their own content, for that site. So no matter what you do, somebody's going to find some way to use your words. But
it's good that it has your name on it, though. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As opposed to being, under somebody else's name or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we usually still send a cease and desist because we want the traffic to come to our site and not theirs.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting.
Michelle, will there be a WordCamp Rochester this year?
There will. We don't have a date yet, but it will be after WordCamp US for sure, since WordCamp US is in September. So we're thinking it'll probably be October. You thinking you might come to the States, Cameron?
Maybe. It's a thought.
We would
My
love
Esther's valid for another 18 months, so maybe we'll see. There's a
if it works out.
WordCamp Sydney planned for fourth quarter here as well, so
Oh, that's exciting.
we'll see.
I won't be coming
Yeah, it'll be
to
nice.
Sydney. I can't. Last year I did over 39,000 miles just in travel to WordCamps and one additional event. So that won't happen again this year. I don't think it doesn't feel well, it didn't make my body feel good to sit on an airplane that much, but also it just doesn't feel like the carbon footprint doesn't feel good. It's exciting to have said I was able to travel that much, and I am still going to Asia, and I'm still going to Europe, still going to WordCamp US, the things that I have to go to for work, but I'm trying to decrease my carbon footprint at least a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think Taylor Swift's got you covered, so you're fine.
I was just gonna say you could fly with Taylor to the Michelle
nice.
Eras tour.
I mean, if she wants to let me sit on her plane, I wouldn't say no. Probably way more comfortable than coach on any other airline.
So the AI companion, you can actually ask it questions. So I asked it, did anyone talk about AI image generation? And it mentions that Joseph mentioned that now it said Devi's instead of Divi, includes AI image generation and text generation capabilities. So it's listening to everything we say.
Well, that's interesting.
Wow, cool. Is it impressed with what we're saying?
Let me ask. Let me ask.
Image generation is another really interesting conversation. Trying to
You
find
could
the
ask it if we forgot anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, image
so I asked,
generation is. Oh, sorry.
so I asked it, are you impressed with the meeting? As an AI language model, I don't have personal opinions or emotions, so I don't have the ability to be impressed. However, the meeting seemed to cover a range of interesting topics related to AI, including its applications in content generation, coaching sessions, and image generation. The participants shared their experience and perspectives, which made for an engaging discussion.
Oh, it
Wow.
has no opinion except it called us engaging.
Yeah.
And it is paying attention, that's for sure.
So I'm going to share an image in the chat. This image was my friend Mark Westgard said to create an image of a woman with purple hair on a scooter, trying to get it to create something that looked like me. I think it's hysterical. I love that she's like going at the speed of light, basically, but also that it was like, and she's going to be careful. She's wearing a helmet. And I have never worn a helmet on my little scooter, but anyway, I just thought that was funny. I thought I'd share that with you.
Well, that could be a helmet you're wearing now. Depends on who's looking.
Yeah, I'm not going to wear like a bike helmet though to run my 5-mile-an-hour scooter, however fast it goes. Probably not even that fast, but anyway. Any other final thoughts, questions, ideas? I do want to mention that I will not be available for this meetup next month because I will literally be on a plane that day flying to Taipei. So I will either find somebody to run the chat, run the session that month, or we will skip a month. I will keep you all posted on how that works out, because I'm not putting anybody on the spot while we're recording in Zoom, but I can definitely help find somebody to give a talk if we need somebody to do that, and if we could get somebody to run it. So I'll chat with a few of you afterwards.
Just as an aside, my background image I generated with AI.
Well, that's cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
That is cool. Looks very
I like that
old-fashioned.
it's very simple in the background. What were some of the terms you used to describe the technique that they drew it in?
You're muted, Gerald.
Well, I asked it to create a pencil sketch in a sepia tones of an older barn and windmill in a farmyard. And I tweaked it a little bit with different prompts after, just to kind of get it to what I've got now. Just kind of adapt it.
I swear I saw Dorothy Gale walk by from The Wizard of Oz.
Well, that was in Kansas. I'm from Nebraska, so we don't know about her.
Oh, okay. Apparently your farms look very much the same.
They do.
Anyway, well, thank you all for being here tonight. Thanks for contributing to the conversation. Really appreciate it, everybody. And stop the recording.